All right, let's get this out of the way right now. We're giving away 5 copies of Donkey Kong Bonanza. In order to enter, all you have to do is go down to the link in the pinned comment or the description. We'll be drawing the winners in July. I wish everyone luck, and let's go ahead and do something that I don't do a whole lot. Let's talk about a game and give you my thoughts on it, because my lord, I think there's a potential game of the year coming from Nintendo, and it's not Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which many of us suspected to be a potential game of the year and still might be. Oh my gosh, what are we talking about? It's Donkey Kong Bonanza. Look, we just came off, what is it, a day or two removed from a 17 minutes? A 17-minute big direct deep dive into Donkey Kong Bonanza. And when they announced this direct on Monday, I know a lot of people's initial thoughts were, man, why do we need a direct for this? We've already had people play it hands-on at different events. We have all this treehouse footage. They made a big deal out of it back in April. So do we really need more? Well, we actually need a general direct. We need release dates and we need new announcements. And look, we still need those release dates and new announcements, but I gotta be honest right now, until Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out, I tend to not quite care that I don't know what's next. And that is because Donkey Kong Bonanza did something that I just didn't expect. I thought the game looked fun and incredible, and I was excited to return to 3D Donkey Kong. But also, I did notice some things, and then listening to Thunderstash Gaming on our podcast talk about his hands-on experience, listen to others, where the gameplay felt great, but I was a little worried that it could get repetitive. But Nintendo took those fears, bottled them up, and shot them into the sun. Everything they showed, let's just put it this way. It was single game direct, right? Nintendo doesn't do a lot of them, but when they do them, they're usually a big deal. The Mario Kart one was a bit of a letdown. This single game direct might be the best individual single game direct in Nintendo history, and I'm not stuttering when I say that. It was incredible from start to finish. First off, they get out of the way right away that Odd Rock is indeed Pauline. And we already knew this because it leaked from a Nintendo social media account all the way back on April. So we already knew that Odd Rock was probably Pauline. So getting that out of the way right away, while it did take away some of the surprise, there are going to be plenty of people that didn't know about that art leak and were surprised. So getting that out of the way is wonderful to me. Obviously, the whole tone was set at the very beginning when it opens up with Pauline singing. You didn't know for sure it was Pauline at the time, but we had a pretty good guess that it would be. And it just gave a completely different vibe. And Pauline obviously sings multiple times throughout the whole thing. And I love musicals. I love this sort of singing stuff like this. So to me, I'm all for this. We found out that Pauline's 13 years old, so she's a teenager. Obviously, if you follow the Donkey Kong and Mario lore and all that, we could talk about how there's a lot of implications here for the lore. Like, is this a pseudo reboot of Donkey Kong? Because Cranky Kong's also in the game. For those that don't know, Cranky Kong is actually supposed to be the original DK, the retired DK from the arcade games, where Pauline was definitely a young woman there. And yet Pauline's in Mario Odyssey as an adult singer, mayor, all that stuff of New Donk City. So there's people are being like, is this like a prequel to that? Or is this like a new Pauline? Is this the same Pauline from the old DK? Or did Pauline have a daughter and this is like the replacement Pauline? Is there multiple generations of Pauline, just like there is for DK? There's a lot of questions being asked, and frankly, I don't really care about the lore. I gotta be honest. The lore isn't what interests me about Mario and Donkey Kong games. I know it does for a lot of people. The Zelda series is one that I do tend to care about the lore with. Xenoblade, stuff like that. Those are obviously a lot more story-driven games. And while I do actually think the reason that we're even talking about this lore is because this is going to be one of the most story-driven 3D platformers Nintendo themselves has ever made, because this appears to be made internally at Nintendo. And with the full voice acting put into Pauline, this looks like full VA in the cutscenes, obviously the singing throughout the game. You even notice she says a few quips here and there. Pauline is adding a level of storytelling to this game that I'm just not accustomed to from Nintendo in 3D platformers. I'm not saying it's new to 3D platforming genre, but it's new to Nintendo's 3D platforming genre, and I'm very excited about the implications of a deeper story. They definitely, a few times throughout showing off the game, tried to tug at the heartstrings a little bit. And I got to admit, well, I'm a grown-ass man, and I wasn't crying or anything. I definitely felt a little bit of emotion going on, and that's a credit to Nintendo and obviously the audio-visual team and all the people that put together the trailers and all this stuff for doing a great job of compiling the right stuff together to get some emotional reactions. But that's just, look, we're already in this, and I haven't even got off the fact that Pauline's in the damn game and how exciting that is. And then you get to the actual gameplay mechanics and how Nintendo switched things up. Because, yeah, the destruction's still there, the punching, we already knew about the rock, the like sort of mimicking shield surfing, their version of shield surfing in the game. They showed the ability that you could take like really soft material like sand and you could chuck it and it sticks to surfaces and you can kind of like build your own structures that way. I think that's really, really cool. But then we get into the real gameplay innovations, things that I wasn't thinking about because I didn't know that they would do this in a Donkey Kong game, let alone a 3D Donkey Kong game. Obviously, we have abilities. Now, it's kind of funny because the more and more I look back on the footage, the more and more I'm starting to get, man, there's some Zelda vibes here. So shield surfing is now your little ground surfing thing, or even when you get the ability later to do it on water, like it's like, okay, that's sort of a Breath of the Wild thing. Oh, there's abilities. Well, abilities were a thing in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Of course, transformations and abilities have been in lots of games. It's not really unique to Zelda, but I just kind of find it funny that they show off 3 of them, right? We have obviously as people are calling it, the Super Saiyan Kong, which just makes him really, really strong, makes him a giant bamboo, and he can break surfaces that he couldn't break as DK. He can like send off shockwaves and break a bunch at once. Just a really powerful version of DK. Then obviously you get the Zebra DK, which allows you to, run really, really fast. So you can run on top of water. You can run as like surfaces are collapsing and stuff like that. And then obviously there's the ostrich mode, which they note the unique part here is it's a flying ostrich because ostriches can actually fly. They can glide a little bit. Like if they, for some reason, are pushed off a cliff, this isn't something that really happens that often, but they can technically glide. They do have like the wings like to help glide so they don't they'll still go like splat into the ground. But the point is they can't fly. They're not ones that can just take flight. So they're flightless birds. So that's it's crazy that they're like, yeah, it's a flightless bird. We don't care. You're going to fly. They could have made it any other bird-like character, and it would have made sense, an owl or something, right? Nope. They went with an ostrich because they think it's funny, and it looks absolutely ridiculous having this super buff ostrich flying through the air, dropping egg bombs. But this just showed like a variety to the gameplay, and that variety continues because all of the abilities and all the things you do are upgradable. They added RPG elements to this game, which is not something I thought we'd ever see in a Donkey Kong game, let alone a 3D Donkey Kong game, is they added in like you level up abilities. You can spend the bananas that you gather on, different abilities and stuff. That is really, really cool. The Banandium, as they call it. You can spend that on all of those abilities. And then not only that, there are costumes that you can get, right? So they have different things you can trade in. You can use gold to buy things. You can use fossils to trade them in for stuff. And these clothing and stuff you get, not only can you change the color of DK, but when you actually put different clothes on Pauline and, on DK, they gain extra like buffs and like 10% higher chance of a treasure chest appearing, or, you could maybe fly for 15% longer. And so I really enjoyed the fact that they took all the abilities in the game and they said, yeah, what you're seeing is just kind of the base of what those abilities do. There's expansions to these abilities where they can do even more, and you get to pick and choose how you want to level up to do that. So that's going to lead to people debating over like what are the best builds in the game to do the craziest stuff. Speedrunners are going to have a field day. The quick swapping between the transformations, even the quirkiness of like they use banana for almost everything, like Banandium chips. There's also banana energy. I think it's hilarious. They just find a way to put banana and everything because they state very clearly that Donkey Kong is just here because he likes bananas. And there's a lot of bananas. And so he's excited to collect bananas. That's what we're being told. Whereas Pauline actually has like a seemingly grander story where she's from the surface, but because of whatever happened, she fell down. We don't know why she turned into Odd Rock, but point is she wants to get back to the surface, and they're hoping like when they get to the middle, kind of like Journey to the Center of the Earth or whatever, they're hoping when they get to the middle that they heard as a rumor if you get to the core, you're granted a wish. Her wish would obviously be to return to the surface with Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's probably wishing for unlimited bananas. I assume his wish is probably that simple. He just wants unlimited bananas. The way his eyes look every time he sees a banana, like, just give the man unlimited bananas. It's like having a dog see like a giant mound of treats, and then you tell him, hey, you can actually have that. Yeah, the dog's eyes get real wide and they start to drool and slobber and get excited. It's kind of like what DK is getting with bananas. So I love that they've kind of done that with DK. And look, obviously, you know, we saw a part where when you're riding on the rhino stuff, you know, you got you got Diddy Kong back, you got Dixie Kong back as well. Don't know if you'll get the team with them at any point throughout the adventure to do stuff or play as them, but it's just nice to see them in the game. And there is, you know, even stuff like, you know, we saw like 3 transformations. People have noticed if you look at some key menu segments, it looks like there might be up to 5 transformations. So that means there's 2 transformations they haven't shown us that we probably won't see until we experience it for ourselves. And just more. There's probably a lot going on in this game. A lot of bosses. They explained why the bosses exist. Like, you have the 3 main characters, and they're kind of making all these bosses, and each like level of the earth has its own boss that you have to beat. That's really cool. And it does have this journey to the center of the earth vibes where like they talk about how as you go through the layers, like you can't even believe this is what's going on under the earth. And it reminds me of like Journey to the Center of the Earth. And as you got like really close to it, there'd be like a whole dinosaur area. Like dinosaurs are still alive. They're just buried deep down. Kind of a cool imaginary aspect. And they're doing that with like every stage of Donkey Kong. The way Donkey Kong moves, the way he looks and feels just watching, like the impact of his punches. I love the intentional frame rate slowdown they do to like really make the punches and all the hits in the game feel really impactful. I like that. Obviously, I don't know how it plays, you know, personally, because I haven't gone hands-on. There are demo kiosks out there for those wondering, and they do have some of the transformations on them. So it's a more up-to-date demo than people played at the Switch 2 experience. You can find them at some Targets and Walmarts, I've heard. Unfortunately, the Targets and Walmarts around here, we only have 1 Target and 2 Walmarts that are anywhere near. Well, 3, I guess, technically, but none of them have demo kiosks for Switch 2, so no luck for me, but maybe you guys will have some luck to go out there and give it a try. I would like to see them drop this demo on the eShop. I think it would be great. I also think it's great when any game has demos, but, you know, obviously sometimes they don't want to do that because the demos aren't really put together in a closed environment, so the whole game is there, and then someone dumps it, and next thing you know, the whole game leaks because people got past the artificial lock. And I get why Nintendo doesn't always put these demos outside of demo kiosks, but it would be nice if they did. That being said, this game, I started off saying that it looks like a Game of the Year contender to me, and I'm standing by it. I know there's been a lot of excellent games this year, and we still have Ghost of Yotoy coming out. Retro Prime 4 Beyond is likely going to be a contender as well. You obviously got to look at Split Fiction was doing really, really well. Expedition 33. Look, we can go on and on and on about, like, this is actually a really tough year to narrow down to just like 6 nominations for Game of the Year. But I do think Donkey Kong Bonanza has an opportunity to be among those nominations. Obviously, reviews are going to have to hold up. Gameplay is going to have to hold up. People are going to have to love this game, and I don't know if they will. But it looks like it has all the same sort of magic that something like Mario Odyssey had, but different and done in a way that's exclusive and different and unique for Donkey Kong. And remember, Mario Odyssey was like a 97 overall rated game. It's one of the highest rated video games of all time, and like one of the highest rated games of this entire generation outside of things like, I don't know, Breath of the Wild that also just was percentage points ahead. And I don't know if so. Was there another game that rated 97 or higher this generation, or at least the last 10 years? I can't remember. There probably was another one. But the point is that I'm really excited for what's happening with Donkey Kong. And this to me is literally everything I've ever wanted out of Donkey Kong. And I didn't even know I wanted any of this. That's the best part. This is what I talk about when people ask me, you know, hey, what would you do if you controlled Zelda or Mario or DK? Like, how would you make a 3D DK? You know what? Don't ask me. Here's how I would respond. Let the maestros at Nintendo do it themselves without my influence, because the bottom line is whatever they come up with is going to probably be absolutely fantastic. And that's what we're getting right now. An absolutely fantastic looking, all I can say so far is looking, Donkey Kong game. Will it be a Game of the Year contender? Don't know. But what I do know is that I have that expectation of this being a Game of the Year level game, and we'll see if it can live up to that expectation when it releases in July. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Roboljets from Nintendo Prime. I gotta get going. We gotta get back to the news videos and stuff. I'm way behind on news. There's so much going on. But hopefully you enjoyed this brief conversation, brief talk. I just had to. I haven't got a video up for 2 days because let's just be honest, I couldn't get beyond this stupid direct. I had all these thoughts and stuff rolling in my head about this Donkey Kong direct, and I'm like, I got to get a video out where I just talk about how excited I am. So this is that video. Now we can move on to the news. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video.